Hey guys, how's it going? This is Dave Sebastian, coordinator of mentoring arts programming with Wayside Youth and Family. I am back with you again today in the home studio in Shirley. I am excited to be back. I was, away for the weekend, and now I'm back. We are together today from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock. I'm sorry that I'm late today. No legitimate excuse. It just takes me, I feel like it takes me longer and longer to set up. I'm not sure why. It seems as though it should be getting quicker and quicker. But it is what it is, I guess. So, I wanted to tell you guys about our project today. If you weren't with us on Friday on Facebook or Tuesday or Thursday, or I guess just Thursday last week, we've been working on a new project, a collage about the Wormwood, based on Wormwood. This is about where we got to the other day. This comic is extremely bright colored and graphic. This is by an artist named Ben Templesmith. His stuff is really, really amazing. I was lucky enough to get to meet Ben one time, and he's a really great guy. His work is really amazing. He's a brilliant draftsman, and he's come up with this really interesting way of using Photoshop for his backgrounds. It's really brilliant. I feel like for the first couple of years I had heard of him, everybody was trying to figure out how he was doing his stuff, which is completely besides the point. He's doing his stuff his way, and it's awesome. So who cares how he does it? And then after people asking him, I'm sure for a long time, he decided he would tell us. And it's a sensibility thing. He's able to do it because he's a very talented guy. And everybody can copy him, but what's the point of that? You know what I mean? So we're going to do this as sort of like a tribute to him. I've done a lot of these collages, and I've done a lot of these collages, and in fact, let me show you, real quick. So these are some of the collages that I've done so far based on comics. I've done somewhere in the about 75 pieces so far. Can't see that because of my light. So these guys up here. Really had a great time doing it. Or I have a great time doing it. Most of this stuff I was doing for comic book conventions. Man, I'm really dark, huh? You see me now? I was doing it for comic book conventions, and I had done my first one just a few weeks before the pandemic, and in November, so a little while before things got difficult. Excuse me. So now with comic book conventions kind of on hold, although I've heard a couple across the country are starting to pop up again, I've had a hard time. My intention was to create, say about 40 of these to be able to do shows. Since the show, I've probably done I had 60 for the show that I did in November. That was the East Coast Comic Con. A really great show. Northeast Comic Con. Oh, man. At the Regency in Boxborough, Mass. We had a really great time at that show. Sold some work. Met a lot of great artists. All the way around, really successful. And couldn't have been more excited to work the next con that was coming up in, what was it? I think it was March. In fact, we were loading in over the weekend. They told everybody that we had to cancel everything. So I actually had completely loaded in. So feel for me. Great show, great place to hang out. I've been trying to do more cons, but they're kind of expensive and complicated. Man, I don't know why I'm so tired. Better drink more coffee. A great story about the Boston Comic Con is I was looking into it last summer, and it costs about $500 for the weekend to go to the con, to have a table. So I was like, well, that's not that bad, I guess. I live close enough to Boston that I could drive in every day, so I wouldn't have to pay for a hotel. So I thought, maybe that's not bad. So I filled out the application, I sent it back, and they sent me back an email saying, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. Saying that I was all set to to have a table, but you had to get 500. You had to get insurance on your table in case anything falls on anyone or anything like that, and that insurance for the weekend was another $250. So now we're at $750, and then there's of course the idea of parking. Like we're in the downtown Boston area, and there's just not a lot of parking. So I found the nearest place that I could park was $50 a day, right? So $50 a day for the 3 days is $150, right? So now we're up to $850, right? Or $900. So $900 for the weekend means that's my overhead, and then of course I'm probably going to eat, and we'll call that $30 a day. So another 120. Another 90. And so that puts me like over $600. Over almost $1,000. Man, it's actually over $1,000. My math is really bad when I'm online, I guess. Math isn't one of my strong suits. I'm an artist. So it was like $1,000, and so it was like the chance of making $1,000 selling my artwork seemed optimistic. Now the con gets a huge number of people, which is awesome, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from comic book type folks, although I'll tell you I was pretty nervous about it when I first started. The best example is Glenn Barr, who is an absolutely brilliant artist and illustrator, and I've been a fan of him, like, I don't even know, for more than 20 years. And he had done a comic called Brooklyn Dreams for Vertigo, I believe, and it was a really, really great book. His artwork is comic booky and totally not, so it was a really interesting fit. In fact, I did one 18 by 24 collage with that book. So Glenn happens to follow me, Mr. Barr possibly, happens to follow me on Instagram. So when I put that on Instagram, I wondered what the feedback would be, if any, from using his artwork. There wasn't any. And I'm sure he's a busy man and he has no reason to respond to me. But, it would have been cool. And I suppose if he was really angry, then he probably would have responded and said, hey, don't do that. Which I've always thought was a chance with some of the work that I've been doing. I will say that artists came up to me at the con, comic book artists, and asked if I could do collages with their stuff. And I think it'd be super fun. And haven't worked that out just yet, but in the process. So working directly with the artist seems like it might be something really fun. But I want to tell you guys a little bit about my programs, and then we'll get right to working on the collage. Lost my internet for a second there, I think. I'm freezing. So my programs are called Greenhouse Graphics, and if you made it here, you know that's where we are on YouTube. We're also on Facebook. No idea why I'm yawning so much. But we're also on Facebook on Wednesdays and Fridays. Right now it's from noon to 2. I believe all of my programs are going to move up to 3, I guess, starting next week. Really just because a lot of young adults that I work with are now in school. So the opportunity to work with them goes down if they're in class when I'm running my programs. So I felt like 3 to 5 might be a little better. I was looking for feedback from anyone that has any thoughts on what we're doing, what I'm doing here. I'd love to hear from you guys, like good, bad, or ugly. I got some feedback yesterday that this is really terrible and that they hate it, and so I'm willing to integrate those comments into my overall effort. So if you feel that way, please let me know. There's nothing to lose. Yeah, so in any case, I am doing this work for Wayside Youth and Family. That's a human service agency out of Framingham, Massachusetts. They work with young adults and families in all sorts of ways, like for, outpatient therapy, um, you know, all different types of services to help support young adults and their families. I work for a program called Tempo Young. Well, I have a studio in a program called Tempo Young Adult Resource Center, which is at 68 Henry Street in Framingham. I've been with those guys about 7 years. We built a studio in the basement there. To use as an engagement method for the young adults who use the center. The center has a really great sort of don't ask, don't tell policy, which is basically like you don't need to have have health insurance or a referral or anything like that to come to the program. It's just open, to anybody who wants to come and or needs anything. They help with a really lot of stuff, like crisis stuff, like homelessness and drug addiction, substance stuff, like they have a washer dryer, computer lab, shower, food kitchen, sort of like crash room, so you could just hang around. Since a lot of times I feel like one of the biggest risks to young adults is boredom, like too much free time. So they've been helping kids out for a long time. I love their program. So we built a studio in there as another way of engaging the time that young adults have. I found that I had a really good time with those guys. When we're allowed to be, I am there Wednesdays and Fridays in the studio doing an open studio program. The open studio is about whatever young adults want to do. And I am trying to stock that studio with as many different types of media as possible. Mostly it's about the things that I am good at or am experienced with, but we have quite a few things. Quite a few things. All right. So, so that's what the open studio program is about. The second half, the rest of my days, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, are spent in the community working with young adults at different locations like youth centers and libraries and anywhere that I can find them, schools, and I go into their programs, bring media with me, and run more or less a studio program with the young adults at the location. This has been a great time, and it's very successful for me. Just before the pandemic, I wound up getting into the collaborative high schools of Massachusetts, or the collaborative schools, which are a number of young adults that fall into the categories that I normally work with. Super excited to work with them, and literally day one, they closed the programs, closed the schools. And now here we are 6 months later, and they're still closed, as you guys know. I'm hoping they're going to have some kind of a hybrid program, but at the moment, after school programming is a little bit on the hold side, I feel like. So I'm waiting to hear back from these programs, willing to do whatever I can to help out, since that is absolutely what it's, kind of about. So, that's how I wanted to tell you guys about it. Thought I had another one here. Hold on one second. Gotta, punt. All right. There we go. Okay. So I wanted to show you guys where we are so far. Again, we're working with Wormwood. Let me see, I had the cover right here. I can show you guys. Hold on one sec. Nothing's worse than dropping what you need when you need it. Oh, I love that kind of stuff. All right, so here we go. So the book that we're working with is this one. This is Wormwood. Really cool guy. Like I said, Ben Templesmith. This is a leprechaun. Leprechauns are bad guys, sort of, in this book. So that's the comic we're working with. Where we've gotten so far is, let's see. Gotta deselect something. Alright. This is about where we are right now. Sorry, the damn lights blow out real good. I need the light, but I don't need the reflection. Oh, let's just give you that without me. So this is kind of where we are so far. This is kind of a mess. What I usually do, whoops. What I normally do is I photograph the our progress, because a collage loose in my room is every time I open the door, somebody walks by, things get moved around. So it's unrealistic to think it's going to stay laid out. And of course, this process is kind of about a fluid approach, so that, let me throw one more light on here. That ain't doing much. Okay. Bring up just a little more light. I feel like I'm still really in the dark. But anyway, this is, what we're going to work on. So what we've done so far, the photographing part of it, is this is about how much we've done as far as layout goes. So what I do is I use this piece as a key and go back and build based on that. Now, initially we're laying together big pieces that have everything included, like text. There won't be any text. The only thing that I've taken out systematically is borders. I've removed everything that's black borders, except for, of course, this one I just saw right here. But as you go, the process of cutting and cutting and cutting just goes on and on. Like this process is, we'll figure out what story we want to tell using these large pieces. And then once we've done that, we'll go in and figure how they can cut together and how we can create a flow and sort of like a systematic approach. Now, I was saying the other day, I just feel like I'm too dark. I was saying the other day that, a great thing about this process is being able to change what happened, in the story. Now, this particular book, which is called Birds, Bees, Blood, and Beer, was 4 different stories. Basically, all of them are about Wormwood, who's a detective, supernatural detective kind of guy, fighting different monsters. So what I want to do is I want to take each of those stories and integrate them into one long story where he's fighting a really large monster, and each of these are steps along the way to get to fighting that monster. So that's what I'm going to try to do. Now, the process of creating the collage as opposed to thinking about it are pretty different. I'm going to conceptualize what I want it to look like, and then we're going to have to go in and begin cutting. And occasionally, more often than not, you can't really get, there's times that you hit a wall and that you can't make the story make sense there. I am pretty fluid in how I'm trying to tell the story. It's not necessarily left to right. It's sort of my, the best I can do, interpretation of it. But it's pretty fun. It's this idea of linear storytelling out of context and repurposing a story someone else intended to go one direction and turning it subtly another direction. Now, you could say the book's about him fighting monsters. I'm going to have him fight a monster. It's not quite that different. But it is enough for me. And then, of course, like the biggest reason to do this collage, regardless of how it goes, is that everyone should see this incredible artwork. Like, there's no way comic art, which I find to be some of the most brilliant art in the world and some of the most talented artists in the world. You might be an oil painter and you're amazing, but you paint your own stuff with your own reality, where comic book artists are required to draw reality all the time, even if it's stylized, and all of their characters must exist in that space, and these things are simply the armature to tell the story. So I kind of feel like comic book artists are really, really great. And when I was a kid, they were very undervalued. And now today they're getting gallery shows and really finally getting some of the press, some of the accolades that they collectively deserve, you know. My dream was to be a comic book artist, and it hasn't worked out, but professional artist is close enough for me. All right, so I've been talking to you for 20 minutes. You don't need to listen anymore to this silly junk. We're going to get right in here and start working on this. The first thing we're going to have to do is try to bring it back, the story that we had already established, bring back a little bit of that, because I kind of liked how that was going. And then once we got that back, then we'll continue. I think we're about in the middle ish. So we'll kind of continue to do that and to work on it. I just want to pull the photo up on the computer behind me. All right. Just gonna bring a machine over. Back to all of this stuff. Okay, so all I'm doing here is having a reference here so I can take a look at it. I think there's sort of like this funny belief that reference is wrong in some way. And I'll be honest with you, there's not an artist in the world that hasn't used some kind of reference. Back in the day, the reference was, women, or characters standing there. You know what I mean? Like you put them together into your composition and that's how it went, Now today, it's a little different. That's a super crazy hotspot behind me, huh? This light over here. Gonna have to break down and buy a ring light or something to put over in this area. What's funny is right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 devices hanging over me. It's a little unsettling, but it kind of works out, I wonder what happens if we mess around in here. I guess you can't while you're live. All right, so like I said, this is about how far we had gone. I actually wish that one was a little better. Let me show you a different one. It's a little bit further away. All right. So this is about how far we had gotten already. This is actually what I'm looking at for a reference. So we're going to go with rebuilding that, and then we're going to start working, from the, from this panel. Whoops. Yep. Hello. So we're going to start working from this panel right here, and work down from that. That guy's going to go over here in the. There we go. That guy's going to go over in this area right here. So first thing we got to do is rebuild the top, and then we'll get into the new bottom. You guys stick with this for 2 seconds, and I'll be right back. I forgot something. All right, you guys. Let's do this thing, okay? So we're just going to take a look at the collage and try to rebuild the top. And once I get the top pulled back in, we'll kind of go from there. Okay? So here we go. First thing we wanted over here is these two signs. We want the bigger one down and the smaller one up. And we were working with this blue panel behind that. Big deal with collages is creating edge information. Like if you can figure out what your edge is going to look like, then you're really close to starting to build something that's going to function. Because you need anchors. You need stuff that's going to help you build it. I do feel like I tend to collage backwards. I'll go this way. We'll go all the way top to bottom, and then when I'm gluing, I go backwards. Because you overlap this direction, and eventually you get to the bottom and start overlapping in the opposite. If you look at it, all the overlaps happened backwards, and now we're going to go frontwards again. Another big risk in this process is losing things. I lose something every time I do a collage because of how long the board, my artwork sits on the board. I have 3 kids and they're awesome, but they very often are in my room spinning this chair or, whatever they're doing. And so a lot of times this stuff gets bumped and then you don't have, what you needed, where it was. And this is tremendously inconvenient. But, they're kids and, we kind of just let it go as much as I can. Problem is when things get lost, they're lost. And no matter what, it's going to be a piece that you really wanted to use that has gotten lost, right? So we just keep trying. All right. So it looks like we got some stuff still in where it's supposed to be, which is really great. It's not just my kids either. That's not fair to, just blame those guys, because honestly, a big part of it is the door. You know what I mean? Like the door to my space gets opened and the wind just comes through and, that's not them. That's just a problem of the space. So here you can see that we're getting some significant overlap. Bring this down a little. Let's see if I can zoom in a little for you guys. All right, so you can see over here that we're getting some significant overlap. Now this will be a very obvious area to cut out the bottom piece of comic and leave this tentacle stuff, but have Wormwood pretty clear in the background. I'm going to just leave that piece there with this assumption that that's what we're going to do. And then over here on the other side, we already have the what I think of as the Leroy piece. You can see here, this is the Leroy piece. Get a little bit closer. There you go. So this piece is the bartender that he's accusing over here. See over here, this is the bartender, and if you look here, you can see this is the bartender in the background, and he's going like this, suggesting that he's the bad guy, right? And so, and he's kind of right, because the bad guy turns into a monster, like right after that. So, seems like a pretty good chance that he might be the bad guy. One of the most challenging parts of collages is just spreading everything out, finding everything you need, being able to see it, not losing it, dropping it. There's kind of a lot going on in a collage. I really enjoy doing them, but I've never found something that was more challenging artistically. I can draw okay, and you don't need a lot to draw. So drawing I find to be a lot easier than this process right here. But I really, this process is also like, really exciting for me to do something new and to spend a bunch of time looking at artists that I like is definitely not difficult. You know, like I'm having a pretty good time with it. Sorry about the darkness, you guys. I feel bad that it's so dark. In any case, right next to Leroy, we have this character here who is vomiting across this line here. And then coming up in the bottom, we were bringing these two horrified people that I had stacked in here. Here's one of them. Again, laying out all your pieces so that you can see them. Very, very important. Right. All right, here's one of them. That one is Wormwood. The puking guy. Right. So I'm just going to keep cooking along. If I run into a snag, which I am right now, because I can't find one of the pieces, we'll bring it in later. All right. All right. So the deal is that Wormwood's starting to get... yeah. Wormwood is starting to get a little crazy. Oh, I don't want it to be full screen. No, that's what it is. All right. There we go. Okay. This is just me adjusting my reference so that I can see it a little bit better. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm kind of continually moving pieces away that I haven't decided how I'm going to use them yet. I really just want what I already have figured out that I want to do, because otherwise it just all gets really confusing really, really quickly. All right. So I think up in here, it was where I wanted to get close to the vomiting guy, like that, right? And then there was another picture of that character here. And the tentacles are starting to come out of his mouth pretty good. So after he throws up tentacles, or maybe before, yeah, let's say like they're coming, and then he throws them up. Yeah, and then we want to use this piece down here where Wormwood is looking up to fight with him, which is right here. Just a little bit of an edge that's damaged here. So I want to just... don't want to take much, and you don't want to change whether it's square or not, because it kind of, it being square kind of helps me a bit. Again, it gives you edges to work with and angles and stuff. So this one wants to go down here a little. We need this one here. And we want it to go under the bartender. Bring it over here. Got to figure out how to make those pieces work. Damn it. All right, sorry you guys. It seems like it's either me bright or the collage not reflective. I would like not reflective, because I hate watching people collage or watching people do anything when I can't see the work that they're creating. It's foolish and annoying. Cool. So we got that one over there. We got this one. This one's supposed to go over here a little bit more. And this one is supposed to kind of come in a bit to split the difference there. Then that's where this one goes. And we had a very large one that's going to fit right in next to that. Now, we don't want to cover too much of this other piece, but we also want to keep in mind that we're going to have to trim a lot of these pieces once we get everything where we want it to go. You know, it's really, the whole thing is going to be about trimming, really. All right. Okay. So that's starting to look the way we wanted it to look. Okay. All right. Again, continue moving things back so that you have room to have it all make sense. You know what I mean? Like, you want to pull out anything that seems to not be working and just keep going. You know what I mean? Don't want to cover up too much of that monster either. So we're going to take this piece and slide it in behind here. Now these pieces are extra, not supposed to be in right there because that's covering our Leroy character. I'm going to move this one a little. Leroy, vomiting monster guy. So now over here we want to use this this attack panel. I'll move this one up a little bit. Again, everything's going to move. Everything's going to adjust. Like, for example, this piece here needs to move up a little bit. As you can see, a lot of times it gets really hard to move paper with your fingers. So I cheat and use this, which is a paper spatula. All right, so now we got the face thing going on. Let's see. Yeah. So we want this one. I think this one needs to go down a little. Alright, get a few extra pieces over here. Very easy to misplace something. This is going to go here. And this one's going to go there. And I was just looking at that one where it's coming out of the side of his mouth. Alright. So here, we're going to kind of make sure we have this space open a little so we can see what's happening under it. Then, I think I'm going to have to trim some of the back of the monster over here because he's going to stick off the edge. I love when you push things to overlap and they slide right over each other instead of not sliding over each other. Over here. Oh, this one actually goes down here a little. I want this one up here by Leroy. This down here a little and over, and then like I said, I think we're gonna have to cheat a little of this back part because I definitely want that piece to be in there. Okay, so that's around where we had gotten so far. There's a few more feel like there's more tentacle stuff going on. He's fighting him, and here he turns into a whole tentacle mess. So we got to kind of think about him getting more tentacly before he gets to this totally messed up phase, right? Because there definitely seems to be some time, that is passing while he's fighting. One sec. Okay. Some time passing. I'm always moving pieces out that I don't think are working as well as others. Because we really have to take all of this information and cull it down to enough stuff that that it's not overwhelming and it all works together to tell the story and that kind of stuff, which is cool, because if we didn't continually cut down on how much stuff we had, we'd have too much, like, all the time. You know what I mean? So we're going to cheat back here and take out this panel here that has him totally covered, and we're going to have Leroy attack his face, and he gets more messed up, and one of the guys in the bar gets affected. Same thing, we don't want to rush him. That is a wicked big problem, which is in the process of trying to take pieces of paper up. They crease and fold and do every other kind of annoying thing. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's see, he's starting to fight the guy over here, and then the guy gets too close and kind of spits on him. So we kind of want to keep the fight going. And just hide the text. Plus, this is a really fantastic drawing right here. Basically going to continue moving this piece down a little. Definitely one of the hardest parts is giving up on drawings that are awesome to make the book work, to make the piece work. Now see, there was a good example of something that just goes terribly wrong. Like, you don't want to scratch it with your fingernail trying to pick it up. But overlap and overlap and overlap is really challenging stuff. Alright. Where do we put that blown out panel where he's all messed up? Again, like I said, there always seems to be a piece missing, and it's always on the floor somewhere. That's another one we needed for up there. I think we're going to slide this guy in here. Like that. Now we don't need the text, so we want to pop this one up and overlap the text. And keep making sure we can show as much of this stuff as we can. Now over here we can trim this overlap to reveal a little bit of that below stuff. So that'll be cool. Just have to look through some of these pieces for some other missing stuff. quickly. Here is the other face piece that we needed. Right. So there we have kind of like a, an arc. First the guy is trying to attack him over here, right? And he throws up, slowly turns into a monster, turns this guy into a monster, and it kind of goes on from there. All right. Another piece I don't think we're going to use. Just poke through some of this bottom stuff, which is this stuff here. So just looking at this stuff and making sure it's not something that we totally need at the moment. This piece here is a large spread of Wormwood, so I'm going to use this as a bottom right hand corner, just to take, to be that corner. Of course, I'm going to collage over it, I'm sure, but I want that to be a corner, established corner. You know what I mean? Just poking around to see if I drop one more piece, because I'm missing one more piece. Sometimes it's underneath everything. Doesn't look like this time, though. I'll lay out a little bit more. Spread it out so that I can see everything. I'll be able to cut whatever I need. Definitely lost something. It was right in here. All right. Got to be conscious of where your edges are. Because if you continually blow out your edges, then you're not really going to have an idea of what it's going to look like. The reason I'm using this surface that I'm using is because this is going to be the board we collage on. So, that's important to be able to work with the correct size. Whoops. All I'm going to do is do this full collage, photograph it, and then move that, move everything off of it, recollage it, begin at the end, collage backwards until I've done it over, and gluing it that second time. So it winds up being a little on the complicated side, but ultimately I feel like it's the best way to go. I always think how cool it is in today's world that that we can photograph everything. Photographing is so not a big deal anymore, where I don't know, it wasn't back in the day, but you have to, print things, and, first you had to take them to the photo store, and then you had to digitally print them, and now today we can just look at them. And it really, really works out, since what else is photos are photos for? Okay, so now we got down to about here. Whoops. 1,000,001 charging cords, like everyone, I'm sure. All right. Literally had a piece right in the middle and I've lost it. A lot of times stuff's on the back. So we got this big shooting panel. That's a little bit further down. All right, this big battle panel. which we decided would go like this. All right, now that we have everybody coming in there, and we, like I said, we've moved some things around. So now we have kind of like an opportunity for some other stuff. Alright, these ones down here, pretty much pieces I don't think I'm going to use. Let's there's a couple of characters in the story that I'm kind of not really going to include, so I'm trying to drop them out as much as possible. This is looking pretty good though. Just have to figure a next panel in this area. This is a panel where this character blows up the bad guy. I was thinking maybe we could get all of this action. Remember I said I wanted to trim some of the back end of this over here. So we trim just a bit of his body, and that'll give us what we need to keep the gun part happening. Definitely want to keep that. Kind of want to keep this panel of him exploding as well. So maybe we do that. Alright. Another piece that I don't know if we'll use. Oh, we got this bursting bad guy thing going on, which looks pretty good. Another thing that I do under this is I'm going to paint the surface black, the canvas or the board. And so then anything that doesn't quite fit the gaps, we can, the black of the background will help serve there. Okay, we got the exploding bad guy. What else do we have here? This one. So love this line right here. Do I know you? I like that. Maybe trim off a little of the back so that we can, and a little over here, so that we can see a little more of the big reveal. Same deal here. Kind of cut this part of the dinosaur of the bad guy. So he's clearly a big monster. So he bursts into this tentacly thing. I'm going to take all of this edge. I want this character removed. going to try to take the bulk of this character right through here so that he doesn't overlap our big monster reveal thing. So they fight him. And then this happens. That scene right there. Where he says, "Hey, do I know you?" Right. Let's see. What to do next? What to use next? There's a story about the leprechauns in here too. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit that one in. Keep picking up the wrong piece again and again. Alright, so they blow this guy up. Maybe they blow him up and he comes back as this guy. Because I do have some more stuff for this guy. Alright, so maybe this guy shows up. Alright, so we're going to transition away from that bad guy into this one. So maybe he sneaks off. Gotta think of a way he can be kind of born. Got a few offcuts stashed under this side. Stuff I thought I would never use. So pull a bunch of that out. Of course, have a significant amount of stuff I decided I wouldn't use, which only means that I almost definitely will use it. This is a really fantastic panel right here, which is Wormwood giving birth to this monster, but that seems like a little bit yucky. Oh, how about if the bad guy blows up, right? And this guy comes out of him. Oh, I like that. That's a really weird idea. Which means we can use that one. Alright, just pull out these couple. So now we got this new monster coming in. Right. And maybe right after he shows up, he jets. Right, he's running because these guys are kind of tough. Okay. Right. I have a little panel where the bad guy kind of reveals himself. I want to use. Alright. Okay. So now after the guy attacks this dude, let's have him turn into this monster right here. All right. Okay. So now if we have him turn into this monster, then we can talk about his powers, right? I like this idea here. Overlap the character over himself and we make his explosion of power stronger. But I guess I thought maybe so if you can get the tentacles to kind of line up, if I can get the tentacles to line up, that's as close as we can get right there. Let's try that again. You guys see down here a little bit? Hey, just move the entire top of the collage. See, this is the stuff that happens, man. Like, you know, you got everything set and then you screw it up. Just moving stuff. So getting there, you know, there's Maul coming in to say hello again.
Hi.
All done school, Maul?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Daddy, where's my pad?
Yeah.
Bye, guys.
Say bye, Maul. All right. All right, so what do we got next? Oh, that was so dumb to move everything. Over here he says, I'm Wormwood. I've never heard of you. Okay. Getting some stuff here. So we're going to have this guy pop out of the damaged monster's body. Should probably go more like right here. This character pops out. Okay. Got this payoff panel on Wormwood. I'm going to take this really cool scary panel and trim off the edge so that you can see a little bit more of it. All right. We're going to trim most of that off. See? I want to cut out those weird, like, astral tentacles that he's spitting out. Alright. Let's see what else we got here. We are getting down there. There is a lot of really silly text in here. Well, not silly, you know, like funny. That I like a lot. Weird fold in it. So I don't know, then maybe I will use this piece. Didn't think I would, but maybe I will. We can go ahead and leave the word spontaneous combustion, conception off, because I don't feel like I need that. But if the monster got inside of him, and he burst like that, that would be funny. So I'm going to cut out the edge of this one. Edge of that one. Try to leave as much as I can of this panel right here. Alright, so now that we got really the bulk of the piece laid out, we can start the process of cutting. The few pieces that I haven't used, there's a short leprechaun story that's pretty awesome. That includes like some weird monsters. I don't know what it'd be called. Yep. Some extremely silly monsters. Upside down even. This panel is the monster exploding out of Wormwood. But if we take Wormwood away, you know, we could drop this character in right here so that it's obvious he's being born. Alright. Not sure. Because it's a big panel. If we pull this one out, I don't think he really have the space. So we'd have to figure a way to make that work. Alright. Like I said, you're going to have to cut that guy out and this guy. Oops. Pulled something. Alright, got it. Alright. Paper spatula. You know what I mean? Paper spatula. Saves me often. The fine tuning obviously is going to be, you know, part of the next step. All right. Okay. You know, gotta look at it all, see what's happening. An extra Wormwood face. So weird that I'm able to lose multiple pieces all the time. Okay. So one thing that's not really going to work is this panel right here, because this panel is a character we're not introducing until down here. I like the idea of this one exploding and this one being under it. So we're going to have to figure out some stuff for these other pieces. Because we want this guy to be born right here after they kill the other guy. We're going to have to figure out how to get him in there. Right? Paper spatula, much easier than our fingers. Okay. Yeah, it looks like we're not really going to be able to use this underneath image, but that's kind of okay because, you know, that might be a good standalone piece. A lot of times I take things that I really like, for example, promotional artwork or covers of books that I really like, and mount those on illustration board. So the same thing, I can share them with people who haven't seen this kind of artwork, or it's just another piece, you know, to share with folks. Personally, I have a lot of comic stuff around my place, so I think that, like, if I like it in that way, then I'm sure some other people maybe would. So hopefully this piece here actually was the first promotional image I ever saw from Wormwood. I gotta think it's one of his early promotional pieces. You know? Somehow totally lost two pieces that are connected to each other. It's pretty weird. Alright. Kind of want all this stuff to go up a little. so that we have room for this being the next thing that happens. Right, because we want, like I said, we want to show this woman shooting them, him being shot, right, and then exploding. Exploding looks good. Excuse me. So we're gonna have this dude getting born. Take out that large piece. Trying to keep my edges as much as I can. So we got this guy being about to be eaten. Right, we're liking what's happening right there. Right. And as soon as he finishes with this guy, he goes after Wormwood. See how much stuff we got left. Look at this. We're coming down to our last couple of pieces. Trying to figure out how we can cover this whole surface. Okay. So this guy comes out as a monster. Right. Okay. Got to kind of figure out if we're going to leave this piece here or this one. Okay. Kind of want this piece here to look like he has like 4 arms. Okay. figured we'd keep this by Wormwood line. Gotta move everything down a little. See if we can. You know, it's funny, there's an idea about creating flow and that kind of stuff, but there's another idea about simply filling space. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta, this is your space to fill. And I'm not going to say I haven't had to change size. You know, I did a piece, the last piece I did, I think, was pretty large, which was the Watchmen piece. Actually show you guys, here's the Watchmen piece that I last did. That is, whoops. Sorry, you guys. That's one. So this was the Watchmen piece that I did, and when I started, I was laying this piece out as a 9x12, and it just was too much information. There's too many panels I wanted to, include. It was just too much going on, So I had to change to 11x14. 11x17. And it wound up being plenty of room, but that small piece wound up not getting used, which is always too bad. I hate to cut anything out. Obviously, I mean, the point is to engage the artwork. So if you're cutting pieces out that you don't think make sense, you're also cutting out the artwork that they represent, which is neither here nor there, simply an observation. This is a line that says, Nisrock's Tasty Meats. Thought it'd be funny to put down here. Alright. Now, as we start getting in here into, sort of the tighter aspects of it, we really initially are just going to do the stuff that we have decided are off camera, or that off the surface, which would be, whoops, let's go back to our piece, which would be like this guy. We wanted him to sit there. So we had to take that corner off. This piece here, is this the one that's going to get cut? No, it's this one. Now for this one, we're going to cut just to the side of his fingers. And so to see how that goes, it's going to go under. Paper spatula time. Okay. Let's see how it looks with this arm. Don't really have something else that I can fit down the side to make the arm make sense. It kind of, the arm is a little bit of a liability, so we're going to bring him in here. So that looks good. Okay. Oh, we lost this whole guy puking up here. Alright, we got a underlap over here. Like that. make sure that guy puking is fairly evident, because I like that. Okay. Trying to bring everything in so that it once again makes sense and fills the surface. Another funny thing to watch out for in collaging is when I'm gluing, I very often leave tiny trim pieces on the surface and then glue them down. This is unfortunately a fairly unrepairable mistake. So watch out for it. You know what I mean? What's happening right here. As I said, I normally take the text out. Right now there's a little bit of text. I think we're going to wind up cutting a lot of that out. Got to straighten this cut out a little. There we go. Alright, this guy has a little border on him. Okay. So these would be the pieces that it is remarkably easy to glue to your surface. It's also, if you drop anything and you're looking for something, you're going to pick it up 100 times trying to find it. Oh. Got to make sure to throw trash in the trash, so we don't keep picking up the same piece again and again looking for the one that we dropped. You know, we just deal with it. Very weird to lose like one piece. You know what I mean? It would make sense if my trash was right there, but it isn't. So anyway, we got this face sucker piece we're going to put right here. We got pretty much the whole space covered. Everybody's looking somewhere close to how I want them to look. Here also has a little bit of edge on it. Okay. to wear a paper spatula. This piece here needs to get cheated down so that you can see the Leroy scream here. Here I'm going to pull this guy out because he's the first guy that I know I need an offcut of. I mean, I need to trim. So we're using a Fisker's knife. It's pretty cool. See me back here? So for this guy, we're just going to cut out his tentacles. And we're going to try not to move the collage in the process. One of those occasions, man, you wish you had one of these giant New York studios where the great artists of our country are painting. Maybe when I grow up. Which feels like it just might never happen. And if that's the deal, I'm kind of okay with it. Okay. All right. Good thing with custom cut collage pieces is if you screw up, nobody's ever going to know. Because it's up to you what you want to show and not. I do feel like matte knives or X-Actos take some getting used to. You know what I mean? Like, you're not just going to grab these guys and be able to cut. Like, it's very easy to make a huge mess. You know what I mean? Alright. Got most of that happening. This guy also has some trim across the bottom that I missed. Okay. Now that this guy's cut out, he should look a little bit better in this section here, and then it'll also buy us some more room for some of these other characters. Whoa! Be careful with your matte knife in the palm of your hand. cutting surface off and see how much we skirt everything up. Alright. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Whoops. Alright. So I think that that's what we're going to do. So now the next step would be going through and removing anything that's considered, that I would consider extraneous text. This line here, problem is if we pull out that text right there, we're going to lose a lot of our background. Right, so maybe we just leave it, because this guy is weird looking. Pull this panel out totally. Right. Best bet is to try not to mess everything up every single time you move something. Now here I'm going to take the text out because the background will fill that. So as I said at the beginning of this video, it's a little on the plotting side. You know, you just tap this, move that, adjust this, you know, and then the hope is that you can build something, you know, that interests you and that does the job, whatever job you want yours to do. Seems like this guy right here has got some text we have to remove. Just like that. Alright, tuck this under here. Not quite so much. Like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of times that it's artistically motivated to move a piece in a certain way. Other times it is completely related to filling space, especially in around this part of the collage right here, because right here we're getting, to a pretty specific spot. Before we get in there and trim that guy, this place here might be a good place to cut out that tentacle, but it might also be a good place to simply use a black marker. Once I'm done laying everything out, then the next job, after gluing, is to create these connections, to create like patterns and stuff. Because if you can, one of the powerful things about collage is this idea that things just happen to connect. And a good example is down here at the bottom, which I don't know if you guys can see it. Right here, this bottom half is one panel of that character, and then the top half is a separate panel. And those two panels together are making the character seem larger and like he has 4 arms. I really like that. And then this piece over here, the tentacles sort of connect to the next piece, So that's a really cool thing. So if you can make that stuff work, it's, part of the making the whole thing function deal. All right. There's occasion where you might feel like you should cut on the board you're working on. Big mistake. Don't do that, because you might pull off the cut you wanted to make, and then you also might cut into your board, and sometimes not a big deal, sometimes a totally big deal. Okay. Alright, I definitely want this down more. This one up. A paper spatula. Alright. Okay. So this one I'm just going to pull the text. Alright, I think we need this guy. In. Alright. Bring this one in. Right here. That would be one of those paper spatula moments. Alright. I want this one to come back in here and cover that gap. Oh, we don't want to cover so much of our Leroy. I think we're going to cut the top of that guy. Alright, so. Alright. Large Leroy, right? Small Leroy, whatever that means. Oh yeah, I like that one. That looks good. Yeah. Let's see what happens if we take that guy out. Just want a little of his back to see if we can make that work. Oh, don't touch your reference computer. It'll screw things up on you. This in there. Okay. Paper spatula time. One thing you don't want to do is try to open a bottle with your paper spatula, because then the tip gets bent, and you really need the tip to get under our work. What else was I thinking? I think I wanted to trim this one back a bit. Like I said, you want to make sure you cut everything, keeping in mind what you're doing. Alright. Almost there.
I did that.
Hi, Mo. Here's Molly stopping by to say hello again. Say hello, Mo.
What the?
Truck.
Weird.
You want to say hello?
Hi, guys.
Is there anybody out there? Just nod if you can hear me. Nobody's talking. So this is kind of like what we wanted to do next, like this is the sort of the next thing, which is laying it all out like this, and then we're going to photograph this so that we can lay it out like this again, which is sometimes frustrating. This guy has a little trim on the top. This guy's a scary monster. That's that. Alright. Getting there. Alright. Well, I think this looks pretty good, but we're pretty much out of time now. So the last thing we're going to do is take a picture, and we will start gluing tomorrow. All right? So I want to say thanks for you guys for being here. Say thanks to Malls. And we will be back tomorrow to finish this up, probably around the same time, 1 to 3. Again, I think next week we'll start at 3 to 5. So come back here and check us out, or I will be putting on, cover your mouth, Sean. I'll be putting on an invitation on Facebook and stuff like that. So if you guys forget, I'll try to remind you. I really appreciate your time, guys, and I appreciate the opportunity to do some artwork with you. So why don't you guys have a good day.